and welcome to today's episode where we chat with Chris Coladonato, who is a speaker, coach, and founder of Connection Catalyst. For years, Chris wore busyness like a badge of honor, believing that doing more was the key to success. And boy, don't we all believe this in some way? She was a relentless achiever and the go-to person for everyone else. She knew how to keep moving, but didn't know how to stop, didn't know how to pause. It was until she has created this intentional space to pause that she discovered the real secret, that slowing down isn't a step back. It is a powerful step forward. So, in today's conversation, we look at how we can step away from this badge of honor of being busy, being always on the move, always achieving, always growing, always looking at be hustling, and find ways to slow down, ground, be more present, reconnect with ourselves, to find more motion forward in later time. So if you're ready to slow down and find stillness, then let's go into this conversation.
But before we start the conversation, here's your reminder. Please subscribe, hit that notification button, like, share, do whatever you need to do or can do to help us to increase our reach, because we want to reach as many people as possible. We have such beautiful guests with amazing knowledge, amazing advice, and just anything that can help you to have more life in your life. And also, don't forget, we've got a newsletter, which we send out only twice a month, so you don't get bombarded. The subscribe button or the link is in the description below. Do just subscribe to the newsletter, because in there, again, we share from what our guests have shown us and taught us and shared with us. But now, let's get on with this wonderful conversation with our unique unicorn. Or isn't she a unicorn? You need to listen to find out.
Hi, Chris, how are you?
Hi, I'm well today. Thank you for asking.
So excited. Thank you so much for joining us, spending your morning here with us, talking and exploring. But before we go into whatever it is that we're going to cover today, please tell us and our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what really, gets you up in the morning and keeps the fire lit up throughout the day.
Mm. So I am Chris Coladonato, and I like to say I'm part forced fairy, part stillness guide. So I am someone who helps others slow down and really embrace the quiet so they can find whatever it is they need, whether it's more connection, more clarity, more presence, and just more living this one precious life, which for me came about through a series of probably the past 10 years of small little events here and there, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I live in the US, in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm an avid hiker, and I love Care Bears so much that I got one tattooed on my arm. So there's a little bit about me.
Wonderful introduction, kind of getting to the essence of kind of who you are. And I'm excited to explore a little bit more. I know that when I was looking, at who are we having today and did a little bit of my research, your Instagram caption, your Instagram bio really got me from when you say life isn't about doing, it's about being. And I think it's such an important message to put out there into the world that we're not here to do something, be doers, we're human beings, which means be in a present. But we live in a world where everything is pretty much run by the doing, by the achieving, by the accomplishing, by the impact we have, by the money we make, by the status we achieve. So tell us a little bit more about, this mission of yours of slowing down, being more present, finding more being. Maybe how did it start for you? I always ask the question like, were you born this way, or did something happen that made you this way? It's always a age-old question. Is it the nature or nurture? Are you one of those unicorns who just came out knowing everything and being perfect and having it all figure out? Or had there been something on the journey that you were like, wait a minute, what am I doing? How am I being? Where am I heading?
I'd love to say I was one of those unicorns. I'm not. So if my sisters were to listen to this, which they will at some point in time, if they were sitting right here, they would be laughing hysterically right now. I was the child who they would try to bribe me to shut up, even for 5 minutes. And they'd try to pay me a quarter. I mean, we're talking like the late 60s, early 70s. And I very rarely got that darn quarter because I couldn't shut up for 5 minutes. I love to talk. So, stillness was a foreign concept to me. I started my career in retail because I love to talk. I love to be busy. I love to be around people. And I still love to talk, hence, I'm a speaker. And I still love to be around people, but just in different ways. I think it all started about 10 years ago because I was super successful. I've had a really great career, a really great life, but I was brought up by parents who were born in the Depression, born in the 20s. So they lived through a very scarcity mindset time. And to succeed, you needed to be, have money and have a car, have a job, have a house, all these things. So I was always brought up to do, to achieve, like many of us were. And that's what I did. And I was really good at it. I got so good at it that I was so busy being busy that I lost sight of myself. And probably about 10 years ago, I started to wonder, is this all there is? And I like to say, and I realize this now, I didn't realize it then, but then I was living life in grayscale. And now I feel like I'm living it in technicolor. Hence the purple hair that you see on my head and the Care Bear tattoo, which you kind of can see. And little bit by little bit, as I was working over the past 10 years, I was like, there's got to be more, but I didn't know how to find that more. So I kept listening to podcasts. Oh, I listened to all the podcasts, read all the books, um, read all the articles, and I didn't find what I was looking for, but I just kept searching. And about 5 years ago, it all started to come to a head right when the pandemic was happening. My job shifted, and I loved my job. I was working and helping people lead and work virtually way before the pandemic started, but it just became all that I did. And I was slowly getting burned out, and I ended up leaving my job after I finished my work in the Future of Work project. I ended up leaving my job to start my own company. And I started it doing things like I was doing at work. I'm going to help you lead and work virtually. And all of a sudden, everything just kind of ground to a halt. I realized I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I can do anything I want to do. What is it I want to do? And I realized I've been so busy being busy that I didn't know the answer to that question. So that's when I started getting quiet and I started slowing down and started getting really good at listening to myself. And that was in 2022. And then in 2023, I got a breast cancer diagnosis, which really slowed me down and forced me to get really quiet and understand I only have this one precious life. How do I really want to spend it? And it was through all of these discoveries and little bit by little bit, journaling and meditation and walks in the forest. I went and got certified as a forest bathing guide because I'm like, I love to spend time in the forest. I know how connected I feel and how quiet and calm I feel. I want to do that for others. So slowly over the past couple years, I've found myself in this place where I realize that my journey these past 10 years has been so that I can show others how to have that journey. So I can show others that there is life beyond busy, and you can make that choice for yourself in whatever way that looks for you. So that's kind of how it all came to be. Not a unicorn, just somebody who's traveled the path.
You said a couple of words that for me are triggering in a positive way, in a good way, where it really kind of gives me the sense of, who you are, what your mission is, where you're heading. Obviously, the stillness, it's such a important part of our journey, of our growth. But when you were talking, you started with, I was doing all these things. I was, quitting a job to start doing my business exactly the same thing, really not realizing that anything is possible. And that's what I love about this world, the day and age we live in, that anything is possible. We don't have to do everything, but we can do anything. But if you're just busy and busy and busy and just keep on turning, one career, another career, one hobby, another hobby, this and this and this and this, one course, we never really stop and realize what it is that we really want, what makes us happy. Because when we're so busy, just keep going, there isn't space for clarity, there isn't space for realization. And I love that, you realize that your journey of being slowly pushed and encouraged and forced. There could be some gentle encouragement. And obviously, a cancer diagnosis is a massive, massive halt, massive nudge to be like, wait a minute, like you really, really need to stop and pause and reconsider that lead you to help others. So I'm curious how it then helps, how it works when someone comes to you, because I can imagine that people feel the need to something changing, to slow down. But we're very resistant to this kind of a change. We are so used to being in the motion that often we leave it till where the body just forces us, where something happens. Obviously, pandemic was more of an external situation, but even throughout that, so many people just kept themselves busy with more things and other things and being part of different projects and doing different things. And so many of us, we know from all the research that so many, especially women, but everyone, we so often wait until the body just tells us, no, stop, you cannot. It manifests our relentless busyness just manifests in some sort of illness that forces us to stop and rethink. So I'm curious how then it works when a client comes to you. What are the maybe methods and techniques or approaches or questions that you help them to enable a bit more of the stillness right here, right now?
Yeah, you brought up something really crucial there, which is it's almost the pain has to get almost so bad, like it was for me, that we don't have any other choice. And I feel that my role is to help people before they get to that point. And I do that by sharing stories and sharing pain points and I'll nudge lovingly so, but I will poke in my social media posts and when people are reaching out to me. And I like to think of it as helping people to see what's the busyness hiding. What are they hiding from? Because for me, busyness was both a badge of honor. Hi, look, I'm busy. I'm important. And it was also a security blanket. Because if I'm busy, I don't have to look at all the other things that are going on. And those are the ways I start working with people is what is it that you are feeling, which is why you came to me. And if you're like, I'm busy, I need more stillness. Well, why do you need more stillness? And really helping them to start to see what is it that they're really trying to find or accomplish. So it could be a speaker who needs to find space in their calendar and in their, even when they sit down to write their talk and get ready for their talk, maybe they don't do simple things like turn off notifications. Maybe they need to learn how to go to a different space. Or is it somebody who is an executive that is so busy that they've lost sight of what they are really trying to accomplish in their business? And how can we create space for them to have that quiet, have that stillness? And then what does it look like for them? So when I'm working with clients, it starts with a lot of questions to start to dig down into what's the real need. They may say, I just need to get better at staying off of social media. Okay, great. And what need is that social media feeding? Why do you keep going to social media? Because if we don't start to dig into that and explore that, then they're just going to keep going back to social media. I mean, I speak about this, I coach others about this, and I'm still addicted to social media because that's the game they're playing with the apps. Anyways, but the three things that I really focus on when I am working with clients are how do we make space for you? How do we make time for you? So space is about the mental and physical space. How do we clear the decks mentally and physically so that you can spend some time in stillness, in rest, whatever that looks like for you? And then how do we make the time for it? But the key piece is, how do we make it matter to you? So what does rest look like for you? What does meditation look like for you? I get asked, should I meditate? Should I journal? I don't know, because I don't know if one, that resonates with you, or two, if that will help you accomplish what it is you're looking to do. So stillness and rest and quiet can look very different depending on the person. And that's the fun part, which is let's explore and try different things. Because what works for me won't work for you and won't work for them. So that's the fun part that we have.
Stillness is something that I'm working on. It's part of my personal journey, but it also has these limiting beliefs that come in. It's for example, mine is, yeah, I'm putting my hand up to my limiting belief here, is, the minute you're sitting still, I was told, but you're lazy. If you're not busy, you're lazy. And lazy people are not quite bad people, but you don't get anywhere in life if you're lazy. And there's all this connotations, and I still get it. Now, I got it in December and January when I went to go visit my mother. I got, why you're doing nothing, you're lazy. Why are you so lazy? And it's like, it's not being lazy, but it's having to overcome all these limiting beliefs. And I know that's not just one of them, but it's also, if I'm not busy, I'm not good enough. If I'm not busy, I'm not going to be successful. If I'm not busy, I'm not a good mother. I need to be busy. So there is this belief around, if we're not busy, then we're not worth who I am, then I'm not a worthwhile human. And that can be quite an impactful limiting belief. How do you help your clients to overcome these beliefs that they've most probably been brought up with, that they've been told? I mean, like, just going on your examples, you loved talking, you loved being with people, you just had that belief that being talkative and, active and busy, it then to be still, and then you've got that little voice in your head going, yeah, but you're not worth it. Yeah, but you're lazy. Yeah, but you're not a good mother. Yeah, but you're not a good employer. You're not a good business owner. You're not you're not good. You're not good. You're not good, going through your head. So it's, okay, how can I be busy? So how do you help clients to overcome those beliefs that are so ingrained?
Okay, so Natalie, I think you've been reading my journals. So yeah, in fact, probably just 6 months ago, I had that conversation with myself in my journal about you're lazy. And these are such sticky beliefs. What I like to do are two things. One, I try to share my story as much as possible, that I have gone through these same things. I had to let go of this feeling that I was lazy. The other thing I try to do is start to bring some of the science into it, that helping people understand that when you rest, then you can have these great creative sparks of ideas, that you can be better for yourself as well as others. We always hear it on the airplanes, put your oxygen mask on your self first before you help someone else. And I feel that these two things are the start of it. And again, it goes back to those questions. What's really going on here? What are you trying to avoid, or what's the belief that you're still holding on to? And it depends on the person, whether it's journaling or coaching or, walking in the forest, to start to really dig into. But the key is to find those moments to just be, so you can start to hear those voices. And it sounds really scary. Like, I don't want to hear that I'm lazy. But if I start to hear I'm lazy, then I'll start to understand whose voice that is. And then I can start asking the questions and helping my clients ask the questions. Is that really true? Whose voice is that? Is it really your voice? I also like to have people think of their little selves. So I bring up, I'm showing on the camera for so Natalie and Linka can see it. There's a picture of little Chris there. And I like to look at little Chris and ask, do you think I'm lazy? And little Chris never says, no, you're lazy. Little Chris always like, no, you should rest. You should nap. You should play. So starting to really dig into whose voice is that so you can start to let it go. So it's a little bit of that, but it's also a little bit of the research. An interesting conversation I was having with a friend where we were talking about where did this whole, like I don't always use the word rest or stillness when I'm talking about my work because that has that, oh, I can't be resting. I can't be still. I must go, go, go. And if you think about where that came from, I mean, that's been around for ages. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. You've seen that everywhere. The Puritans over here in the States, I mean, that was, you just worked and worked and worked and worked, and that just has bled into generation after generation after generation. So I think it goes back to, those things, which is you have to find some stillness so you can really hear whose voice is that and is it really true and start to question that. And once you can start to understand whose voice it really is, and you're like, oh, that's not mine. I don't have to listen to that. It takes practice, though. And it takes practice asking whose voice that is. Is that really true? The more you say that and the more they practice it, it slowly starts to unravel. But throw a little science in there, too. That really helps people when they can see, oh, there's data. Like, I should be resting. I can be more productive when I rest. And throw in some Albert Einstein and some others who, really promoted rest. And then that helps people to start to see, yeah, they could be better off for it.
I love that you're bringing the science because it's for lots of people we do need to
Mhm.
satisfy our rational, logical, productive mind with finding the reasoning to, okay, it's okay if I rest because the science says it's going to make me more
Mhm.
productive. It's okay to meditate, to take time to sit and to be still because the science says I'm going to be more productive, I'm going to be more efficient.
Mhm.
But if we then want to take it to the next level and truly embrace stillness and being and, slower, more intentional life, be removing the, okay, practical goals, like I'm going to be still to be more productive, I'm going to rest to
Mhm.
be more productive, then it's really pushing us out of our comfort zone. And we know that we human beings, we don't like scary things. And being still
Mhm.
and listening to these voices can be really scary. Like it
Yeah.
could freak the hell out of us to allow. And so many people, it could be talked about. For me, stillness also means lots of solitude. Like, yes, you can be still in a room full of people, but to me, stillness, you talked about, forest bathing, being out in nature.
Mhm.
To me, stillness also means solitude. And again, lots of people, we're connected on our phones. We're so used to
Yeah.
being with someone. There are people who just hate being alone. So is this
Mhm.
something that you also are coming across, that part of it, it's okay, I can get people on board a little bit with the science and productive, but if then we want to take it to the next level, there's still more obstacles to overcome, specifically talking about maybe the loneliness, the
Yeah.
isolation, and also maybe the fact that it's very scary to
Mhm.
embrace pure stillness and try to remove any of the baggage and any of the reasons and embrace it for what it is, just as it is.
Yeah, I work with a lot of people who, when they first start this journey, it's like, oh, I need to play music and I need to, and I'm like, okay, yes, and that's great. If you want to, and again, not everybody has to meditate. I know when I started meditating, I did guided meditations, and now I cannot have a voice in my head when I'm meditating. But if that's what you need to start, or if you need to start doing a walking meditation, or because everybody's different. And if we can slowly peel away and get them to a place where I like to do experiments. So let's experiment with something this week. Doesn't mean you have to commit to it, but can you for 1 minute? And I'm trying to make them so easy that they can't not do it. So for 1 minute each day, can you just sit in silence? Do I need to give you a quarter if you do that? Okay, I'll Venmo you a quarter if that's what you need. Sure. But little bit by little bit, and then helping them through, okay, how am I going to deal with those voices? Do I need to see a therapist? Do I need to journal more? What are some ways that I can be really curious about what's coming up? Because it's in there. I had a therapist once who said she considered this mental fitness. Because if you just keep pushing those voices down, they're going to go in the basement and they're going to start doing a little strength training and they're going to start pumping some iron and building up their muscles. And then they're going to come back badder and more fierce. But if you invite them up to sit down and have a conversation, it is scary. I mean, it's tense. It's like, well, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. And you can start to diffuse and start to understand and start to have some empathy and some compassion for that part of you who was protecting you all these years. And then that's when we look at, again, is it something they can discover in themselves? Do they need to work with a therapist? What are some other methodologies that they can do? But again, it goes back to me sharing my journey. I've had all of those things. I've had the monkey mind. I used to listen to podcasts while I was out hiking. I, that just doesn't compute. I'm at a loss of words because I'm like, really? And now no, I just listen to nature. So it's little bit by little bit, experiments, and then finding, do they need additional support to be able to face those voices and listen to themselves and reconcile with that?
It's so interesting when you said that you used to listen to podcasts when hiking and what a like ridiculous notion it feels now. I'm exactly the same. I remember hiking and always having headphones in and have kind of being the disconnect between I'm here in nature and yet like I'm in this inner world and now I cannot. And I feel like, oh, why am I not, consuming so many like audiobooks? Why can't I go through so many podcasts the way I
Right.
used to be? And I'm like, well, when I'm out and about, I'm not plugging anything in. I'm trying to have my
Mm-hmm.
phone away and just be in a moment and listen to the birds and listen to the nature and listen to my own thoughts. And it was impossible for me to imagine that a couple of years ago. And I love when you say that meditation means different things to different people, because me and Natalie, very different people. Like for Natalie, saying meditation, imagining the traditional meditation, she's like, not really for me. I'm like, I'm more than happy to sit and, just breathe and to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But different people have very different, needs and ideas of what a meditation is. And that's where it is more about being present in the moment and the intentionality of being able to
Mm-hmm.
observe rather than busying ourselves. And for some people, it means that there need to be the body involvement. I think the embodiment of stillness, it's interesting because when we, again, talk stillness, we can talk mental stillness, but we can also
Uh-huh.
talk body stillness. I would love to see, how do you look at the differences and the connection between to still our mind, do we need to still our body? Or what is the connection? Do we need to still one first and the other? Do they work together? Can we use our body to still our mind?
Yes. So I think of it as, again, everybody is different. So when I first started meditating, I would sit down to meditate and I would just hear the monkey mind and the voice and blah, 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 even if it was a guided meditation. So I started doing walking meditations and I found that the practice of walking slowly and intentionally allowed me to start to slow down my mind. And even now, when I go out in the forest, when my mind is racing, you won't see me hitting my meditation bench. I will go on a walk outside in nature. And it allows me to focus and still my mind because my body's moving. So my body has something to do. And then I start to focus on what are 5 things I can see, what are 4 things I can hear, and then everything just starts to quiet. I know other people who they can my mind is racing. I'm just going to go sit and be still. But when they're doing that, I often find that there is still movement that's helping them be still. You even said it when you were talking about your breath. Breath work is movement in the body. Our body is always moving. But if we can slow down that movement and be intentional about that movement, it's almost a signal to the brain and to the body that you're safe. We're not racing from a tiger. There's no saber tooth that's running after us. And moving slowly can start to slow down the mind. So I think there is definitely a connection. And I think it just depends, but I'm a big believer that slow intentional movement can really help still the mind.
There's an app that was using, but I have a thing about having my phone anywhere near me when I'm trying to keep still. So it doesn't work for me, but I have heard that it works for other people. It's like it's just and you can for a minute, you can say for 1 minute, just be still, and it actually turns everything off your phone, and then it gives you a little beep 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 when your minute is up. Because I know when you're starting to sit still, it's like, I'm sure a minute's gone by. I'm sure a minute's gone by. It's like been 10 seconds. Oh no. So you just constantly watching. And I found using that app did help me, because when it was like, I'm sure a minute's got, no, it's not a minute yet, because the app will say once it's a minute, and it's quite it is a good app, and I just wanted to mention that, because it's something that sitting still and stilling my mind is something I am very much working on, and I'm trying to find different ways. And I was using that app, but then what I found is when you turn the app off, you then on your phone, and then you start the scrolling again. So it's sort of, for me, it defeated the object, and I wasn't able to just turn off straight away.
Yeah.
So it's I'm on plan Z by now, so I'll start with plan A again. But the thing is, like you said, it is finding what works, because this isn't a one size fits all. It is what works. And I also have found that sometimes one thing has worked and then it doesn't work, and then you find something else. So it's not just, oh goody, I found what works, that's it, I'm off. It's like, okay, no, that's not working anymore. What else? So it's good to have a couple of, tricks up your sleeve, so to speak. And then when that's not working, okay, what can I do? What other thing do I do when it's been really hectic or I'm really stressed? What can I do? Because this is not working, but this will now work. And then that doesn't work. So you go back to this, and still is something that is, I think, over the last, I'd like to say 25 odd years, I think, since basically smartphones and internet and everything, it has got really crazy, and emails. And I mean, I was having a discussion with somebody about letters, I mean, cards and postal system, because in South Africa, the only country in the world that doesn't actually have a postal system. So, and I'm originally from South Africa, and we are in the process of moving back. And the conversation was, well, what if I want to send you a card? I'm like, good luck, I won't get it. And it was like, but we remember when we used to get letters, and then when email came, it's how do people deal with it? So it was such a random conversation, but it got me thinking, is we used to sit down and write a letter, and then depending on where it was going, it would take a couple of weeks to get there. Then a month later or 6 weeks later, you get a reply back, which was quite fun if you had asked a question and all they did was answer the question without repeating the question. It's like, that doesn't make sense. But it was that stillness. You didn't expect something within 30 seconds. Now you send a message and you're looking at, have you read them? Have you got those two little blue ticks? Oh, you've read, why aren't you responded? Why can't I see the little typing going on? I mean, I've just sent you that message. I want a response right now because I need it right now. And the difference, I mean, this has been over, give or take, 25 years, that we expect answers straight away. We expect And when we send out an email, we're expecting an answer. When somebody sends out an email and you see the email and it's like, oh, I better answer because they're going to expect an answer that it's 3 o'clock in the morning or midnight, doesn't matter. Just you've got to answer it. And it's this expectation that something has got to happen right now. And then when you sit in silence or go out in nature, I mean, like the two of you said, having earpods, that's something I don't like going for a walk with earpods in because I can't hear what's going on around me, especially on streets or anything. I like to know if there's a car coming or somebody's behind me. I guess it's from growing up in South Africa. But the thing is, it's this expectation. I've got to have it now. I've got to have that, listen to that podcast now. I've got to get that response now. I've got to send out a message now. And I think it's also dealing with that expectation. It's okay. I'll send out a message. They will get back to me when they can, when they're able. I know I send Lenka a message. I'm omitting something here, Lenka. I sent her a message yesterday asking her for some content. And I'm like, but I need to do it now. I've got everything ready. I need to do it now. And then it's like, no, hang on. Lenka's most probably driving. I know she's driving from Spain back to the Czech Republic. She's most probably on the road. No, it doesn't matter. She can respond now. She's able to do it. Just stop, park up, respond. And it's like, no, why does she need to respond? There's absolutely no reason. The world's not going to stop. Nothing's going to happen. But for that moment, I had in my head, I need this now. I need this now because I need it now. There was no logical reason. It was just, I knew I needed to do something. I needed something from her now. But it doesn't happen that way. And I think it was really nice that Lenka didn't respond, because what it enabled me was to back off, because I can't do something until I've had stuff from Lenka. Okay, what can I do, or and I ended up sitting on the couch with my husband, and I wasn't still, I was reading a book.
That's okay.
But I wasn't sitting on my laptop. I wasn't sitting on the computer. And then when she did respond, it was like, I'll do it tomorrow. But I then had that choice. Oh, I can do it now. Oh, I can get it done now. And it's like, why? I can do it tomorrow. I've actually turned off the computer. I'm sitting quietly with my husband, just reading a book. It's quiet. It's late in the evening. What's the rush? And that for me was a really powerful lesson. And even a month ago, that wouldn't have happened. A month ago, I would have got up and done what I needed to do. I did it this morning. Yeah, the world's still turning, the sun's still shining, and in England, that's a good thing. The sun is still shining. Everything is still functioning. Nothing has stopped. And I think it's having that realization is we don't need to have everything back instantly. That expectation of, I've now sent a message, I expect something in return now, instantly. And I think that is also part of the stillness, is you can send out your email, send out your WhatsApp, send out whatever you need to do, but not have that expectation that it's got to come back. And then at the same, again, when somebody sends you something, not fulfill that expectation of, I've got to respond right now. I've got to respond. It's so important. They've seen the little blue ticks that I've read it, or they've seen that I've read it. Whatever it is, I now have to respond. Why? You're busy cooking. You maybe just sitting, eating dinner. You sitting on the couch, reading a book, which is something new for me. Why do you have to respond right now? And I think that is a lot of this busy, is that expectation of, I've got to receive it now, or I've got to respond now. Is that something that you see a lot of with your clients?
Yeah, we've trained ourselves to deliver and respond immediately because we live in a world that we can do that now. I mean, I remember when you would ring a phone and you weren't sure who was going to answer, parents or the kids you were calling. And then you had to wait, and then they might have to call you back. And there was no texting, there was none of this. And letters, I used to have a pen pal in Sri Lanka, and I loved that. Loved that I would get this letter. But we live in an age where we can have anything in an instant. So for me, you were talking about we're racing around doing all these things. One time where I started to realize that I was almost addicted to all of this. Okay, I was addicted to all of this, which was I went downstairs. I had been working from home since 2008. So I was working from home, but I was working for an organization that was in California, so 3 hours behind me. And they would call later in the night, but I got really good at turning it off, but not always. So I went downstairs to start dinner and came back upstairs to work on one email. That's it. One email to respond to somebody in California. And my husband came up, I don't know how much longer, and said, "What are we burning for dinner tonight?" I had completely forgotten about everything that was sitting on the stove because that one thing led to something else. It led to something else. So I like to think of it as what's that space that we need to create? Again, that mental and physical space so that we don't, and we can start to let go of that need to respond immediately and having those conversations like you had with yourself. Does this really need to happen right now? And what are the boundaries and the space that you need to create in order to not respond immediately? So, for instance, I only check email unless something important is coming in that I really do have to respond to, maybe something legal or tax wise or something like that. I try to look at it 3 times a day: morning, noon, night. And by night, I mean when I close up everything for the day. I'm not perfect, but that for me is a boundary, because if not, then I'm like, refresh, refresh, refresh. If that email's up, I'm refreshing it. I don't have the notifications on, but I'll just keep the email tab open and just keep clicking the refresh button. So I do see that a lot with clients. And it's, again, taking a step back and saying, what's that space we need to create for you so that you're not tempted? Does that mean leaving your phone in another room? Does that mean setting it up? So, for instance, in the morning, I don't wake to an alarm, but my phone kind of wakes up. So I wake to the light of the phone, which for me is perfect. But it immediately turns itself into do not disturb. And only my husband and my family, my immediate family for emergencies, can break through that. So that's a boundary. That's creating space. So I'm not tempted to go, because I never do. I'll look at my phone and go, oh, okay, no, it's morning time. This is my time to create, to journal, to do whatever it is, to walk or whatever. So it is creating that space, creating those boundaries so that you like just get your pattern interrupted for a moment. It's like, okay, oh, no, I can't link it, can't respond. Okay, I'm going to go sit on the couch and read, which I think is beautiful. That's a form of stillness because you're allowing your mind to slow down, and then you can respond to it tomorrow. So those are things I look at with clients, which is what's that space you need to create? What are those boundaries? What are those systems you need to put in place so that you aren't quickly reaching and feeling like you need to respond immediately or that you need to read something immediately?
So it really is about, as you said, setting those boundaries. It's putting those systems in place. It's like, it's okay in the morning for me, it's writing the journaling, so therefore my phone does not tell me what's going on. You've got the do not disturb on it. And then having that boundary of that's not going to happen is having that boundary of when you're going to check emails and then turning them off when you've checked them, responded. Okay, and then next time is at 12 o'clock or next time is at 5 o'clock, whatever suits. And just deciding what those routines you want to put in place, and then putting those boundaries in, and most probably letting people know who you live with, the boundaries that you're putting in, and saying, okay, that time and that time, do not disturb me because I'm going to be sitting and staring at the curtains and trying not to go out of my mind with my voices. But I'm working on that stillness in me. And is that, having those negotiations, because it is also the other person has to then suit them. You can't be doing it in a room that they might need to be in or something. But putting those boundaries in, and boundaries are so important. I mean, that's something that often comes up. I know Lenka and I, we've often had guests where we talk about boundaries. That's something that gets eroded because, I'll just do this, or I'll just do that, or give me a minute, or let me just check that. And you just erode those boundaries. And then when you want them in place, it's like they're not there. And then you wonder why you're so tired, or it's noisy in your head or anything. So thank you for the reminder about boundaries. Would there be something that you would, to help people, sort of a couple of tips that would help people to connect those boundaries, to find a way to start to put those boundaries in?
Yeah, I like to think of it as what's getting in your way. So let's look at morning, for example. I used to turn on the news and work out first thing in the morning and watch all the things. And I started realizing that that was just making me shaky and hyper. And while a good thing when you're working in retail, maybe, was not a great thing when I needed to do some really deep thinking work for the projects I was working on. So, what was getting in my way was that hyperactivity. So, what do I need to put in place to help me have a slower, calmer morning? What does that look like? That would be a boundary. And then we would create that. So, it's starting to look at what's getting in your way or what's keeping you from being that person or being that, having that stillness or achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. You were talking about, your mornings. You don't keep the phone near you, and that is your boundary. So what was getting in your way probably was you looking at your phone. So that's an easy thing to say. They're like, oh, I pick up my phone first thing in the morning. Great. Let's not do that. What do we need to put in place? What's that boundary to make that happen? I see this a lot at the end of the day, too. I used to work with a lot of teams who worked virtually. They shifted from working in an office to working virtually. And you lose that boundary of a commute because it was easy. You were in the office, you commuted home, that's the boundary. Now you're in personal world. So one of the things that we did, and I still do this with a lot of people who run their own businesses and don't work in a traditional office, is what's the boundary that you need to put in place to help you to shift so you're not working until 8, 9, 10 o'clock? Because you're telling me you're tired. You're telling me that you never seem to have a personal life, that you're answering emails until 8 o'clock. Okay, great. That's the things that we want to not do anymore. So what's the boundary we need to put in place? We need a boundary. We need something that signals to our brain and our bodies that this is when we're going to end our day and we're going to shift into personal. So it could look like you take a class, you go for a hike, you meet up with people, you spend time with your kids. Maybe you listen to a podcast and you just spend time doing something for you so that when you are finished with that, you're like, oh, I'm done for the day. So that's the way I usually tell people to look at it. What is the thing that is getting in your way or keeping you from having that life that you want to have? And then looking at, okay, what do I need to do and put in place to interrupt that thing that I'm doing?
That's simple, doesn't it? Sounds so simple. And we love simple. Simple's not always easy, but simple's good. So sounds really, it's doable. And I think that's the important thing. Hop on to our Patreon account to get this episode's amazing and wonderful gold nugget. So for our listeners who been listening to this episode and they're thinking, okay, this is something that I'm wanting to do, or this is somebody I need to speak to, or I want to learn more about it, or I just want to be in Chris's circle and have her wisdom come my way, whatever it is they're looking for, how can people find you?
So I think of it as Chris's dance floor. So if you want to come out on the dance floor, and it's a disco, by the way, who doesn't love a good disco song? You can find me in a variety of places, but the easiest place to go to is my website, and my website is connectioncatalyst.com. But I'm also always on Instagram, and I tend to take a lot of photos in nature. I love macro photos, and I'm playing with them a lot on Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram at Chris Cola Fairy, because who doesn't need a little fairy in her life?
We all need a little fairy in our life.
Hmm.
And obviously, we will link add all your links into description so people can just click and find you wherever. Thank you so much for being here, really bringing this, message of stillness being a superpower into our sphere, into our ears, into our audiences. But we always want a little extra. So I have one final question. Here in the podcast, we're all about finding more life in one's life. And I'm curious, what gives you life?
Other than disco music? Colors. So I love color, and I have started to really embrace that. And not just in my hair and in my room and in my colorful tattoos, but what brings me life is truly when I am looking at anything. When I walk into a new room, I'm like, wow, look at all the color. And then you think about, well, that's not really color. It's light bouncing off, which is making the color. And then and that just makes me go, wow, isn't this a really cool rock that we're sitting on that's hurtling through space? So.
I love that. Color is amazing. It's something that I love as well. So I get it. And yeah, color is so beautiful. And of course, nature has some
Hmm.
amazing colors, especially going into the spring. We start to see all the
Yes.
lovely colors coming out. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for your time and your energy today and your wisdom, especially about stillness and just slowing down. It's good advice. It's something that we all need to be doing. So thank you so much for just sharing with us, being here on your early morning, also late afternoon or mid-afternoon. So thank you so much again. And we really appreciate your time and your energy that you shared with us today.
Thanks for having me.
For our listeners, what have you got from today? Is stillness something that you're working on, something you have mastered, or something that you have thought about but haven't done anything with? We'd love to know your thoughts on stillness. We'd love to know any aha moments that you've got from today, any aha moments. We'd love to hear your thoughts, especially around stillness. This is a really powerful tool that we can use in a busy, busy, busy world. So please share with us what you've got from today. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Here is your reminder about our Patreon, where you get all our really beautiful gold nuggets. And today we had a fantastic gold nugget to share. Subscribe to Patreon. The link is in the description below. Hop into the gold nugget section to access all our wonderful gold nuggets. There is also a free section where you can access snippets from past episodes, as well as some great content with tips, advice, and beautiful and wonderful wisdom. Come and join up and be part of the Into Your Life community. We would love to see you there.